Sally Field, one of Hollywood's most beloved and accomplished actresses, carried a secret for more than 3 decades, a secret so personal, so profoundly affecting, that it changes how millions of fans might see Forrest Gump forever. The story behind her performance is not just about the movie itself, but about an industry that has quietly, and sometimes cruelly, defined the worth of women in Hollywood. While audiences celebrated her as the heartwarming, perfect mother figure, Field was enduring a professional and personal reality that would have broken most people. For the world, her role as Mrs. Gump was a career triumph. But for Field, it came with a cost that went far beyond the emotional labor of acting. It was a stark reminder that Hollywood's admiration often comes at the price of personal invisibility and systemic ageism. And what she revealed about that experience is as heartbreaking as it is eye-opening. The year was 1994, and Forrest Gump was about to become one of the most culturally significant films of its era. Tom Hanks delivered a career-defining performance. Groundbreaking special effects immersed audiences in a nostalgic journey through modern American history, and the story of a kind, persevering man captivated millions. But for Sally Field, the excitement of being part of such a monumental project was overshadowed by an internal struggle that no one on set could fully understand. From the very first day, Field sensed that the role of Mrs. Gump wasn't just a character, it was a professional turning point she hadn't asked for. During early script discussions, she even considered walking away. It wasn't because the script lacked quality or the film lacked potential. In fact, the project was irresistible in its prestige. Tom Hanks was being whispered about for Academy Award contention, the director, fresh from notable successes, had Hollywood credibility, and the story itself promised timeless emotional resonance. Yet Field knew that accepting the role meant stepping into a part that symbolized the industry's unspoken decree. Her time as a leading romantic actress was over. The offer was deceptively simple: play the mother of a man who was 10 years younger than her. Pause for a moment. 10 years. 10 years younger. In any rational world, this casting choice defies logic. Yet in Hollywood, it was a reflection of systemic assumptions about women and aging. For a male actor of the same age as Field, there would be no such categorization. He could still play romantic leads opposite much younger women for decades. But for women, the clock was merciless. Hollywood had quietly assigned Field to a category, maternal figure. Her value, her screen presence, her talent, all suddenly filtered through this narrow lens. Field's initial excitement about the film was complicated by this realization. She had conquered television with roles in Gidget and The Flying Nun, demonstrated her dramatic range in Norma Ray and Places in the Heart, and earned 2 Academy Awards for performances that had shaped Hollywood's view of her as a multidimensional actress. To step into Mrs. Gump was both an honor and an unsettling reminder that the industry had already recalculated her worth. Accepting the role meant embracing a character beloved by audiences while simultaneously acknowledging the subtle career erasure she faced. The first days on set were a mixture of professional pride and personal unease. The script itself was unique, quirky, risky, and unlike anything Field had done before. She likened it to opening a box of chocolates without knowing the flavor she would find inside. The premise: a man with an intellectual disability inadvertently navigating historical milestones, was delicate, poignant, and inherently challenging to portray with authenticity. Field's instinct told her this could be transformative storytelling. But she also sensed the unspoken truth. In playing the mother of a younger man, she was being positioned to serve the male protagonist's story rather than lead her own. Even as Field immersed herself in the role, she confronted a duality that few could see. On one hand, Mrs. Gump was the emotional core of the film, wise, nurturing, and profoundly memorable. On the other hand, every scene she filmed was a reminder that her professional identity as a leading lady had been quietly erased. She was channeling maternal warmth, wisdom, and emotional authenticity while privately mourning the roles that Hollywood had decided were no longer hers. The irony was sharp. She was bringing life to a character that would be quoted and celebrated for decades, yet the industry viewed her contribution as expected, almost ordinary, a reflection of systemic assumptions about women of a certain age. The casting process itself revealed just how normalized this age discrimination had become. Executives and casting directors discussed her pairing with Hanks without hesitation. No one questioned the 10-year age discrepancy. No one challenged the narrative that she should play a maternal figure rather than a romantic lead. Other women considered for the role faced the same constraints. Field later reflected on the emotional toll of seeing talented actresses evaluated not for their craft but for their ability to embody maternal characteristics convincingly. Hollywood's brutal mathematics had become clear. Women over 40 were valuable primarily as supporting players in male-centered stories. Despite this, Field committed fully to the role, bringing her entire emotional toolkit to the character of Mrs. Gump. She drew on her own experiences as a mother to infuse authenticity into her performance, but doing so while grappling with the knowledge that her career trajectory had shifted was emotionally exhausting. Every scene, every word spoken, every expression given carried the weight of personal and systemic expectations. The now famous box of chocolate scene was a microcosm of this duality. While Mrs. Gump offered wisdom about life's unpredictability, Field herself was navigating the uncertainty of her professional life with no guidance or reassurance. On set, the dynamics added additional layers of challenge. Director Robert Zemeckis, known for his meticulous and sometimes uncompromising approach, demanded precise emotional truth. Field recounted moments of tension when her vision for Mrs. Gump's character diverged from his, creating friction that was creatively productive but emotionally draining. Similarly, Tom Hanks' instinctual and natural acting style, while powerful on screen, meant that Field had to continuously adapt to match his ease, layering her own emotional turmoil beneath the surface. It was a complex dance, portraying a character defined by emotional warmth while privately wrestling with feelings of professional diminishment and industry-imposed invisibility. The impact of Forrest Gump's success intensified Field's internal conflict. The film became a cultural phenomenon, with Hank's performance winning him an Academy Award and Mrs. Gump's lines entering the popular lexicon. Critics and audiences lauded her portrayal, yet the accolades highlighted a cruel irony. While her work was praised, it also solidified the industry's message that her value was now primarily maternal, her previous stature as a leading lady effectively rewritten. The public celebrated Mrs. Gump without understanding the cost Field had paid to bring the character to life. This cognitive dissonance haunted Field for years. Privately, she processed the film's success alongside a sense of professional displacement. Publicly, she maintained the narrative that Forrest Gump had been a positive, career-defining experience. Interviews, retrospectives, and press appearances allowed her to participate in the celebration while keeping the deeper truths to herself. It was a delicate balance. She wanted to honor the work she had done and the legacy of the film, yet she also needed time to understand and articulate what the role had taken from her. Over time, the repercussions became clearer. Roles offered to her increasingly fit the maternal archetype that Forrest Gump had cemented. Even as she delivered powerful performances across television and film, the range of opportunities narrowed. Yet Field did not allow this reality to define her completely. Instead, it became a catalyst for reflection and advocacy. Writing her memoir provided a platform to speak candidly about the intersection of talent, age, and gender in Hollywood, a conversation few were ready to have publicly. Her eventual revelation about Forrest Gump is more than a personal anecdote. It's an exposé of an industry that measures women by narrow and often cruel standards. Field described the casting choice not simply as odd but emblematic of a systemic problem. Women are aged out of leading roles while men continue to thrive. Being cast as the mother of someone 10 years younger was both literal and symbolic, a reminder that Hollywood had already moved her to the sidelines of romance, adventure, and center-stage narratives. Yet Field transformed this painful experience into empowerment. She used her platform to highlight ageism, gender bias, and the undervaluing of women's experiences in entertainment. Her advocacy extended beyond acting. She became active in climate protests, LGBTQ rights, and other causes where speaking truth to power mattered. The courage to share her professional struggles gave her the confidence to tackle larger social issues, demonstrating that the personal and political are often deeply intertwined. Field's story also invites audiences to reconsider Forrest Gump itself. Mrs. Gump's wisdom, patience, and emotional strength were not merely scripted traits. They were the product of an actress channeling her personal frustrations and professional heartbreak into a performance that resonated universally. Understanding the context of Field's experience reframes the film. The character's emotional gravity is intertwined with real-life struggle, lending Mrs. Gump a depth and poignancy that goes beyond the surface narrative. The broader impact of Field's revelation cannot be overstated. Her willingness to speak openly about systemic bias shines a light on the countless actresses who vanish from the industry once deemed past their prime. For every high-profile Sally Field, there are dozens of talented women whose careers are quietly curtailed, their contributions undervalued or erased entirely. By breaking her 30-year silence, Field gives a voice to these unseen stories and challenges audiences to confront uncomfortable truths about Hollywood and cultural assumptions about age, gender, and talent. Even decades later, the timing of her confession feels urgent. As conversations about representation, equity, and systemic bias gain traction, Field's story provides a concrete case study of how these issues manifest in real careers and lives. It illustrates the human cost of industry-wide patterns of discrimination while celebrating resilience, talent, and the transformative power of speaking one's truth. The final lesson of Sally Field's Forrest Gump experience is multi-layered. It is a story about professional courage in the face of systemic marginalization. It is a testament to the complexity of emotional labor in acting, where public celebration can coexist with private pain. It is a critique of Hollywood's gendered assumptions, revealing the disparities between opportunities for men and women of the same age and talent. And ultimately, it is a story about transformation, turning heartbreak into art and using that art as a platform for broader social change. The next time you watch Mrs. Gump deliver her iconic lines about life being like a box of chocolates, remember that these words were spoken by a woman who lived a version of that uncertainty herself. She brought authenticity, heart, and emotional nuance to a character, all while navigating the complex terrain of career invisibility and systemic bias. Knowing this, every scene carries additional resonance. Her performance is not just memorable, it is emblematic of perseverance, artistry, and truth-telling in a world that too often sidelines the contributions of women. Sally Field's confession about Forrest Gump ultimately reminds us of the profound intersection between personal experience and creative expression. She shows that even in the most celebrated roles, the human behind the character carries layers of struggle, triumph, and resilience. And while the world may remember Mrs. Gump for her warmth and wisdom, Field's story ensures we also recognize the courage and pain behind that performance, the silent battles waged behind the cameras of Hollywood. By speaking her truth, Field has done more than illuminate her own journey. She has forced a broader reckoning with cultural assumptions, gender bias, and the invisible barriers that shape countless lives in the entertainment industry. Her legacy extends beyond the iconic character she portrayed. It encompasses her bravery, her advocacy, and her refusal to let systemic injustice define her worth. Forrest Gump may forever be remembered as a cinematic classic, but through Field's revelation, it also becomes a symbol of resilience, courage, and the transformative power of telling uncomfortable truths. In the end, Sally Field's experience is a lesson in empathy, insight, and reflection. It reminds us that behind every cherished performance is a person navigating professional realities, societal expectations, and personal aspirations. It invites us to look closer, think deeper, and recognize the full humanity behind the roles we love. And as you watch Mrs. Gump offering her wisdom to Forrest, you now understand the weight behind each word, the invisible struggles, the systemic inequities, and the enduring courage of a remarkable woman who turned personal heartbreak into art and art into lasting social awareness. Sally Field didn't just reveal a personal truth about Forrest Gump. She revealed something profound about the entertainment industry, about resilience, and about the price of being true to oneself. And in doing so, she gave the world not just a mother, but a lesson in courage, dignity, and the transformative power of speaking your truth, regardless of the decades it takes to be heard.